chat with you peons. Huh? Am I here? Does anyone hear me? Am I live? Am I doing it live? Am I doing it live? Doing it live. Yo, let's see if I can see some comments this time. Because I see one comment. See two. All right, there we go. There we go. 6. All right, can y'all hear me? Give me a thumbs up if y'all can hear me. All right. So we're gonna do it live. Do it live. So it's. Hold on just a second. Let's see if we got an email from Miss Carol. Jill is waiting on Carol to come in. Hey, Loretta Dooley. All right. They're from LinkedIn. What's up, Loretta? Que paso? All right, cool. We got a lady from LinkedIn on board. That's fantastic. Don't typically get much people from LinkedIn. I didn't even know I was on LinkedIn, actually. I see that. Oh, yeah, I am. Sweet. Hey, cool. Right on. Appreciate you being here, Loretta. Where are you coming from, Loretta? Tell us a little about Loretta while we're waiting for our esteemed guest here. Carol might be out there picking strawberries. Oh, there she is. She's coming on board here. All right, cool. Hold on a second, Carol. Carol, can you hear me? Hold on a second. I can't hear you yet, but you can hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, cool. All right, you ready for me to put you on the thing here? Give me a thumbs up if for some reason I can't hear you, Carol. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. Now I can hear you. Carol, can you? All right. Oh, I think we're live, Carol. Can you hear me?
I can.
Right. Hey, right on. Hey.
I had to switch computers because the StreamYard doesn't like Safari.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so.
Does it always not like Safari? Or you just learned that right? I don't know. Has it always been like that?
I just learned it. I have some props. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I got some books. Hold on.
Hey, cool. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So there's Carol. She's crushing. And Jill's the beneficiary of Carol's hard work. Jill just sits by the pool drinking margaritas and lemonade, if that's what people do. I don't know. And Carol just delivers her like strawberries and all kinds of produce. Must be nice. Whereas me, on the other hand, I'm out there doing it all myself. In fact, I just bought some new strawberry plants. Don't tell my wife. All right, sweet. So we got some props. What you got there? What you got for your props?
Stuff to show you.
All right. You want to show it now, or you want to wait?
They'll come up through the conversation, no doubt.
All right, right on. I just telling everybody how you take care of old Jill there by she's just sitting around lounging by the pool, with her butlers and everything, and then you bring her the produce that you make.
That's right. Best strawberry year ever in the garden.
For real. All right,
For real.
Question. How are you keeping the vagrants off? Because my strawberry plants are smoking, and then the freaking squirrels or the birds get them. So what are you doing to keep the vagrants off?
Well, I've done nothing on the strawberries. There's enough for all of us.
Okay. All right. So you have so many plants that everyone's satisfied.
Yeah. And you know what? Normally I would see like little peckings by the birds, but I don't see that because not far from the strawberry patch, I have 3 serviceberry trees that are loaded with fruit. And I don't harvest that for myself. You could make a jam or jelly out of it. It would require a lot of sugar. So I suspect they're eating things like that instead of my strawberries.
So you give them a decoy.
Not intentionally, but that's one hypothesis.
Yeah, but I mean, if you don't like the service berries anyway, you're like, hey, I mean, other than for a couple of jams with tons of sugar, you're like, hey, I'll let you guys have these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I have a mulberry tree that, I mean, I don't get many mulberries out because the birds get all them. So maybe that's. Seems like this year they've been staying away from my peach trees pretty good. My plum trees, Carol, I got this plum tree that is like, I bought it for like $10 at Walmart a couple years ago. I said, there's no way this guy's live. And it's producing like crazy this year. I'm like, holy crap. I don't even like plums that much, but when they're fresh from the tree, it's like the best thing ever. And I just bought another plum tree just yesterday, as a matter of fact, a couple more strawberry plants I got to get in the ground. I generally don't like to plant this time of the year, but it's just like, I just, it's like, it's an addiction, man. I don't like to plant trees. Like always in the fall, but I say, what the heck? I got some space over here that gets a lot of sun.
If it was cheap on sale and you're willing to keep it watered, it'll probably be all right. That's the thing. Yeah. It's hot in Georgia. You got to keep it watered.
No, what I'm saying. In fact, this whole next week, we're not getting any rain at all. So I got to get out there quite a bit. I might actually just keep in the bucket for about a week or so before I transplant it. But So strawberries, this is your best crop of strawberries ever, huh?
It certainly was, and it was a combination, I think, of the amount of rain we got, how quickly we warmed up in the spring, and then the patch has been out there for 5 or 6 years, I think, and so it's really gotten fuller. In fact, I'll probably take off some of the little daughter plants that it sends out those runners, and
Yeah.
I have another little area. I might start another little patch.
Now, will those runners? Can you replant those?
Yeah, their daughter.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So the trick with strawberries is they produce best fruit on the outside of the row, which is why you have long, narrow rows of strawberries. So it's better to have a 1 foot wide, 20-foot long row. You'll get more fruiting than if you try to put that in, say, a 5 by 5 area or a 10 by 10 area. In the center there, it doesn't produce as much fruit. So go to the outsides.
interesting. So a long, uh, a long single row, you know what I'm saying? And then
Yes.
gotcha, as opposed to like, okay, interesting. Now, those runners, those daughter plants, you slice them and then you can stick them in the ground, kind of thing. Is what you do, or
Well, generally what happens is they'll flow over and then they'll start to produce roots, and then you can just chop off that runner, let it form a little plant, and then lift it up and move it. Um, Strawberries are sold usually bare root plants, so they're sold to you with just the little buds in the early spring. So I would move those in Georgia. You might be able to get by with moving them in the fall, or I'd move them in early spring before they really take off.
yeah. Okay, interesting. I used to work at a strawberry farm in Maine when I was growing up. The summertime, Maxwell's Farm, and man, it was. I mean, it was just insane. It's just how, oh, man, there's nothing better than freshly picked strawberries. That's just a
That's
fact. I
right.
mean, it's
They're
so
delicious.
oh, and Jill just said, like the ones I put in my deck years ago, not very good. I'm not sure what she's saying. Yeah, Jill, sometimes she makes sense. Um,
Well,
uh,
she had some that she put by her deck, but that area got really shady really fast
oh,
because she has a tree there, and so
oh,
they do need full sun.
yeah. Hear that, Jill? Maybe you should listen to Carol once in a while.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Sometimes Jill makes sense, and sometimes she's just off a rocker. I don't know what to do with her. You Indiana folks. Anyway, so welcome aboard, Carol.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the sudden. Jill just emailed me and said, "Hey," I said, "Man, I've been." Anyway, long story short, so guys, so Carol and I interviewed Carol back in December of 2020. Can you believe that,
Wow.
Carol? It's been
I-
3.5 years. 3.5 years, and she had been retired for 4 years. We talked about retiring to something as opposed to retiring from something. And that was, lots of change in those last 3.5 years for sure. I mean, in terms of like no more coronavirus, no more. I mean, hell, a lot of different things going on. But anyway, so I figured it's been 8 years since Carol retired. I said it'd be kind of cool to check in, see how retirement's going for Carol, and see what kind of thoughts and anything that she has. So welcome aboard again, Carol. Carol
Thanks.
Michael, everybody.
Thank
Right
you.
on. What Dwayne says he's all about. I thought he says eating strawberries right now. He says, "Hey, look at Dwayne. You guys changed his picture there. Dwayne, you lost some weight. Looks like, or all right. Look at Dwayne with Georgia Tech. Can you see Can you see what I'm clicking on, Carol? Or you can't see this?
I can see.
Okay, good. So Dwayne's a Georgia Tech guy, so we won't hold that against him.
No.
But but anyways, so Carol, what's your the name of your, because you said you got a podcast on Friday. What's the name of your podcast again?
So the podcast is called The Garden Angelist. We are evangelists for gardening. We love gardening and we want others to love it too. Flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I record this with a friend of mine who lives in Guthrie, Oklahoma. So we can talk about gardening, and she's probably on the same seasonal schedule as you are in Georgia, except maybe her winters get a little colder than yours.
We're 7B, which she's probably what, 7A, I imagine, or something like that.
Around 7A, 7B.
Okay.
But she gets
Ah,
some pretty good winter weather sometimes.
yeah, right on. So that's the gar I can't pronounce it.
The Garden Angelus.
Garden Angelus, and you also have a blog too, right? What's that?
Yes. So my blog traditionally was called May Dreams Gardens. All year I dream of the days of May when the sky is blue, the grass is green,
Yeah, 100%.
and the garden is all new again, something like that. And
Is
I
it,
started that before I retired. I started writing that really took off with it in 2006.
MadeDreamsGardens.com.
Well, that should take you to a redirect to my actual website, which is caroljmichael.com. And then the blog is on that website. I've changed my website from when I first started that blog. But there's almost 3,000 posts out there.
Yeah, no, it's Michael. There we go. Sweet. So I'll put the link. Oh yeah, all year I dreamed of. Yeah, right on. That's fantastic. All right, so I'm gonna put the link to that. So if you guys are interested, yeah, look at my man Dwayne. He said he lost 25 pounds. That's fantastic.
Good deal.
Look at that. Well, I saw. Funny. I was shopping Costco about about a month or so ago, and this pretty lady came up to me and said, "Josh," I said, "That's me, but I'm taking, lady. You know what I'm saying? I already got a wife. Don't be hitting on me." And I didn't really say that, but anyway, she goes, "Josh, yeah, my husband watches you all the time on YouTube." I said, "Who's your husband?" She told him about old Dwayne here, and so maybe Dwayne said, "Hey, my wife's going around talking to men. I better get on start losing some weight." You know what I'm saying?
I love me some Costco, as I say, and I have actually bought plants at Costco.
Yeah.
And one of my prettiest peonies, I bought two of them at Costco. It's a yellow flowering peony called Bartzella.
I don't know what a peony is.
Pardon?
I don't even know what that is.
All right, I can't talk to you anymore, Josh. A peony is a spring flower, great big fluffy flower. It's the state flower of Indiana.
Oh.
And some of your audience will surely know what a peony is. But anyway, there's this one. Let us just suffice to say, if you went to a regular garden center, it'd be like $90 to $100.
Yeah.
Costco had them for $35.
Whoa.
So I bought two for myself. And then while I'm standing there, I convinced like three more people to buy it. It's just the most beautiful of all the peonies. But anyway.
Well, Denise says peonies are her favorite. Now she's from Wisconsin, so that's probably
wonderful place to grow peonies. Wisconsin is perfect peony climate.
It's Wisconsin.
It's a little bit hot in Georgia. They like to have some cool in the wintertime. So
lilacs you probably can't grow down here, right?
Lilacs also have to have winter chill in order to bloom successfully. There are some lilacs that they kind of select and breed for the South, but they'll never compare to the sweet, sweet scent of lilacs like you probably remember from your childhood in Maine.
I tell you, there's a lady on Facebook. I thought she lived in North Carolina, but it turns out she lives in Massachusetts. And she's from my island in Maine, and she posted about lilacs. Said, "Man, I miss lilacs." I said, "Can they?" I said, "I didn't think they could grow in the South." And she goes, well, "I'm not in the South. I thought she was in North Carolina." I was literally getting ready to have a heart attack that lilacs could grow in the South. And she goes, "No, I'm in Massachusetts." I said, "Man, I miss lilacs. Something wicked. They are just love." We do have like the gardenias and stuff, which are smells real good, but they don't last as long as the lilacs. All right. My man Kirk started a 3-day water fast. All right. Right on, Kirk. And Denise says she loves lilacs too, but bred for the white lilac. The gardenias are nice too. All right. So Carol, what has transpired in your 8-year? Tell everybody what you did for work, by the way, if you don't mind. And then
so it goes back. I got out of college with a horticulture degree. And I did not get very good job offers because it was the 1981. The economy was in the tank, President Jimmy Carter. And, but anyway, so I thought, I thought I need something that I can make a living at.
Yeah.
And I had taken a computer programming course. I did a pretty good job with it. And so I immediately went back and got an associate in computer technology. And then I took the first job I was offered. It was in healthcare IT. And I worked for 33 years, starting out as an entry-level programmer, worked myself up to being a director of the project office. And I was also responsible for all the IT contracts that would flow through our office. So after 33 years of that, when I was 57, I thought, that's enough of this. And I had been writing on my blog about gardening and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know where that's going to go. It's not going to make me a lot of money, but I've made a lot of money. I think I can retire early. And so my boss used to try to talk me out of it until I just walked in that fateful day in March of 2016. I said, I'm retiring. And I gave him my resignation letter. So he's like, okay, I'm done talking you out of it.
So what brought you to the point where you said I'm just done? Like, I mean, did you like study hard, do all kinds of financial planning? You just had an intuition, like I think I'm
You know
good.
what? I had a financial planner, and the guys would come in, and I had decided, and this is first show and tell item. I think when this book came out, and I think it came out in the 90s. And keep in mind, I did not get married and I did not have children. And so I'm looking for this. Yeah, 1993. And I saw this. You're familiar with this book,
Yeah,
Your
absolutely.
Money
Yeah.
or Your Life. I mean,
Yeah.
it's from 1993, but I still think it's one of the best
Yeah.
books for young people to read, to understand that you do not have to spend every penny that you make.
Yeah.
And in fact, you are probably going to live a happier, better life if you underspend, because money in the bank is going to be freedom for you in the future. So after reading through that book, I maxed out the contributions you could make to, and in our case, it was a not-for-profit, so it was the 403B, which is the same as a
Yeah.
401k. And I also maxed out another secret sharing program that if you max out a 403B, you can also put money into what's called deferred income, because it was a nonprofit organization. So when I retired, I had a chunk of change in a deferred income account. I had a pension, which they don't offer anymore. They just help
Yeah.
you save in that 403B as best they can, putting amounts in that for you. So with that, I thought, I have enough.
Yeah.
I have enough. I never lived all the way up to my means because, as I told my boss, I still had linoleum countertops. I did
Yeah.
not have the granite countertops. And
Not
so,
even Corian? Not even Corian?
no. Now I live in a lovely home, a lovely custom built home. I mean, it was paid for when I walked out the door. I'd already paid the mortgage off, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, probably, I'm going to say a good 8 years before that.
Are you in that same house now?
I'm in that same house. My main vehicle is 10 years old, almost 10 years old. Still drives quite well, and think,
How
well,
long
should
have you been in that house?
since 1997.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
So
I have a saying, Carol, same woman, same house, same job. You know what I'm saying? Obviously you're not
yes,
married, so same house, same job, and same car. We can use that, to say, I mean,
yes,
it's just the
yes,
same.
yes,
Linoleum countertops, you don't need, I mean, all the, it's all the same thing. Same, same
yeah,
house, same job, same car. You keep your head down, you wake
yeah.
up, you're 57 years old, you got no debt. It's the same old story. It's crazy.
And so the other thing is, people say, well, oh, I'm not going to stop going to Starbucks. And it's like, I used to go to Starbucks every day and get an ice cream tea to take to work and nurse that thing all day long. But anyway, it's not about, if you really enjoy something and want to
Yeah,
do something. I mean, look behind me. This
right,
is a tenth of the number of books that I have in this house.
right, right.
And there are house plants, and nobody gets to know what I spend on plants in the spring, summer, and fall. And they'll say at the garden center, would you like a receipt? I'm like, we don't need evidence of this spending. No, here's cash. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody needs to know. But it's all
Yeah,
about,
we don't want the IRS to know either, or not the IRS, the NSA to know either. You know what I'm saying? This is under
yeah.
the under the table transaction.
But
Um,
and then luckily I didn't fall in love like with Corvettes or something where it was, although some people say gardening, yeah, can be an expensive hobby, Carol. But I mean, I just never spent all the way to the max that my income would allow.
that's are you now? You're from the Midwest. You have brothers and sisters.
Yes.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
One brother and three sisters.
Yeah, so a big Midwestern family. Probably frugal from the get go. The minute you popped out, your parents are probably, saving their pennies at the. You know what I'm saying? I highly suspect you came from a background that says frugality is a. And what kind of name is Michael? What's the heritage of that? German? Is
German.
that German? Is right. So exactly. So German heritage. Hey, we're not burning light cigars and $100 bills for sure. All right,
No,
everyone's laughing at us for saying linoleum. In fact, Jill even said
it's not
laughing about
linoleum counters. It's
laminate.
laminate. I meant laminate.
Yeah.
That's what happens with live. You say stupid stuff.
And then Penelope's like laughing. They used to do linoleum.
Anyway, The point is, I read that book and I realized that you don't have to spend every penny you make, and that you should be saving for that time when you say, like you said, I want to leave. And here's the thing: I worked hard.
Yeah.
I did my fair share, and when I left, they split my job into 2 jobs and hired 2 people to replace me.
Yeah.
So, I think, well, if I'd gone in and made a case to my boss that, hey, this is too much, will you give me half this work? He would have said, I'll give you half the pay. But instead, they have to hire 2 men at, so they double my income basically to replace what I did, which was, that's fine.
And they still took a while to get ramped up to even get to where you were in terms of efficiency. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if they ever did, frankly, yeah.
Yes.
Now,
So,
were you on Social Security too? Were you paying into Social Security or no?
oh yeah, you pay into Social Security.
So
So people ask me like, oh gosh, what about healthcare, Carol?
yeah, right.
So I did Cobra until they told me what the increase, because I retired in June of 2016. And by the way, I advocate for everybody retire at the beginning of the summer, because you went through 12 years of school and summer was always a holiday. So you retire and it's like, oh, I've got a summer vacation back. And you just kind of do the summer vacation things and buzz around and everything, and don't really have to worry about settling in until everybody goes back in the school in the fall. And then you're like, this is great, everybody's back in school, and now these places aren't very crowded. I can go to the zoo and walk around and look at me and the homeschool kids.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I advocate retiring in the late spring, early summer if you can.
And so you went on Cobra. What'd you do after that for healthcare?
So I did a health sharing plan, which was called Solidarity Health Share, which is it's a Catholic health sharing plan.
Okay.
And so you pay in, and then the shares come back to help you pay for medical expenses. Now, I will say that this is sort of you must manage it more so than like traditional health insurance, because they don't pay very fast sometimes, or at least they didn't. Eventually bills would get paid, but you got to be able to talk to the provider, talk to them, get them all hooked up. They're wanting discounts and stuff. And so it really takes a bit more management than your traditional healthcare. But in January, I turned 65 and now I'm on Medicare.
But cost savings on the health share plans can be pretty significant too, in terms of premium.
Yes, it was a very cost-effective plan for me. Now, I was grandfathered in at lower rates, but today they have a higher deductible than they had before, and the rates are actually higher. But it was a sweet deal, and I was lucky I have good health, so I didn't have a lot of health issues that had to be taken care of. So I didn't test it to its limits by any means.
But it kept you over until you're on Medicare, and you just signed up for Medicare this year. Is that what you said?
Medicare started Medicare in January when I turned 65, and so now it's like freewheeling healthcare. It's like, oh, Medicare pay. Okay, Medicare pays for that. You don't have to worry about, will this get paid or whatever. Medicare paying for that. So
yeah, that's one of the problems. The Medicare pays for so much. It's like, woo, everyone's using it so much. Now, do you have like a Medicare supplemental policy, like a Plan G or Plan N or something like that?
Plan N. Gotcha. So yeah,
I
didn't want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just tell you that it's more expensive than a health share.
Oh, yeah,
and it's probably equivalent to what people are paying today with their traditional employers, because nobody's getting a cheap deal on healthcare these days. Nobody is.
And the software I use charge about $500 to $550 per person per month for everything. Medicare Part B, Part D, supplemental policies. Does that seem about
that's almost spot on. That's right in the ballpark. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's real good.
I had one lady from Oakland, Michigan on this live stream tell me she was only paying like $300. I said, what? I couldn't believe it. She had a Plan G or Plan, I can't remember what it was. I was like, so I don't understand that. But I said, yeah, I said, well, you better never leave Oakland, Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah, because the rates for the supplemental, at least, are based on your age, and they run the statistics, the actuary tables and stuff, same as anybody else. But I didn't want to get on Medicare Advantage, but that's a whole nother topic. Right. So that's all taken care of. So I've crossed that bridge. And then people say, well, you get bored. And I was talking to somebody that retired, and they just went through this thing where there's like, well, there's no structure to anything, and
Right.
I don't know what to do with my day. And I'm like, and you're crazy. She had been a nurse, which is go, go, go all the time. And
Right.
but anyway, it's like you need hobbies. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't get everything done, but I do. I've written 5 garden humor books in the 8 years. I've written and published 2 children's books. I self-published these. So I've got those things going, and then I had some speaking engagements. I still occasionally speak, but even now it's like in the beginning it's like all excited. Oh, you want me to speak? And I would go and speak, and then
Yeah.
go to Ohio and Kentucky,
Yeah.
and I went to Florida, and then you're just like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'd rather just write the book, and if somebody buys it, that's great. If
Right. Yeah.
so.
Do you have you found like you as you get older now, Carol, that your hobbies are like how's the word I want to look for? Are you not? I won't say getting bored, but just like becoming more like you're just like, man, I'm not as into it now because I've been doing it for 8 years. I mean, I know you love gardening, so I can't imagine that, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. You find that like, man, I'm starting to get over this gardening. I want to do something else. I want to be a head football coach or something like that. Or are you still loving?
Well, it is my dream to be the head football coach at my alma mater, Purdue University, except that I haven't attended a game for the last 30 years, so they're probably going to think that's false. But anyway, I still love gardening, and here's the thing about gardening is it's different every single year. And there's new plants that come along, old plants that go out. There's something new every year. And then I pick up hobbies. So I used to do a lot of counting cross stitch years ago. And then, it's with work and everything, it just kind of falls by the wayside. And then a couple of years, last year, I'd like, oh my gosh, I have all these counter cross stitch supplies. So I started doing a little bit of that. Now that falls off with the gardening season, as everything does. I read a ton of books, and then I go down these rabbit holes, and I have a rabbit hole from Maine for you.
Ooh, share, please.
So someone told me about this book, which is it's really a children's book. Oh, let me back up. Hitty, Her First 100 Years by Rachel Field. Do you recognize the name Rachel Field?
I do not.
This won a Newbery Award in 1929. And it's about a little girl. It starts out in Maine, and the farmhand carves her a little wooden doll named Hitty. And then this is Hitty, the little doll. It's her adventures going around the world, basically, being left here, dropped off there, rediscovered over here. But Rachel Field.
I'm going to write that down. Rachel Field Hitty. That sounds pretty cool.
Well, it's probably not a book for you, Josh, but you should look up. There's a woman named, the author, Rachel Field.
Mm-hmm.
She used to go and live on an island off the coast of Maine, called the Field House. And I don't know where the island is in Maine, but I bought her. Somebody wrote a biography of her just a few years ago. And so I bought this biography to read about her. And she tragically died in her 40s of pneumonia after a surgery out in California. But she just seems like a very interesting person, though I think she had a very sad life. But she's from Maine.
Yeah. Wait, so Rachel, this book is on Rachel's life, or she wrote that book?
No, this is the book about Rachel Field, the main author. And I thought, well, Josh needs to know about this main author.
What's that main author?
Rachel Field.
Oh, Rachel Field. Okay, gotcha. That book's about Rachel Field. Okay, understood.
Yes. I don't know exactly, and I haven't gotten very far in the biography. So, I mean, it could be a big dud. But I get involved in these things, and I look up this Hitty because I must have mentioned her on the podcast, and somebody said, oh, yeah, she's a big deal. Today, people try to carve like replica Hitty dolls. And you go out to Etsy, and there's all these people that are selling these carved wooden dolls for like $100 or whatever, trying to replicate what she looked like. And so and am I going to get carving equipment and start carving wooden dolls? Probably not. But the option's there.
And you might be fun for a little bit. Or you might be like me, like, yeah, it sounds fun. And after about 3 weeks, I got a telescope a couple of years ago. I said, that sounds fun. After about 2 weeks, I don't like it anymore. So it's sitting up there taking up space. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, that's the thing. There should be a place, and here's a business idea, and there probably is a place And some libraries actually offer where you can rent equipment.
Oh
Like you
man,
can rent a sewing machine, you could rent
yeah,
a telescope. And so it'd be good to rent these things
yeah,
for like a week, try it out. It's like, okay, this is my new passion. I'll go buy one.
right,
But
right,
renting it first, it's like you ever get a book out of the library and think, this is too good not to own on my shelf.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so you go ahead and buy it. I do
right,
that.
absolutely. Or you get a book from the bookstore that you paid for. You're like, man, I can't believe I paid for that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So get the library book first. And then, so I tell everybody, once you're retired, if you don't have a library card, you're insane. Go get you a library card.
Well, C.S. Lewis says you're familiar with C.S. Lewis, right?
There's not a pile of books and a cup of tea big enough to satisfy me.
And he says
Something like that.
your biggest budget in retirement or something like that should be your bookshelf or something like that. He said, "Hey, what are you drinking? I'm drinking this right here, bubbly. What are you drinking there? Spendthrift, a Waterloo. Yep, right on. Yeah, yeah, that looks pretty good. They don't have Waterloo at our local Costco, but we got bubblies on sale at Publix BOGO, so I get some bubblies. But C.S. Lewis says your biggest budget in retirement, something like that, should be your books. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, what a great saying, because I get so, I mean, like challenging modern physics. I've had, I mean, just all this stuff, electrodynamics. I just love this stuff, and I don't have enough time.
Well, and that's true. And so, like C.S. Lewis, I mean, the other quote, I paraphrase, there's not a pile of books big enough or a cup of tea large enough to satisfy me. But here's the thing, in retirement, so I should have read this book when I was about 10 years old.
Yeah, right.
And there's a whole genre of fiction around like little lost dolls or that go on adventures. And there's one,
Yeah.
The Adventures of Edward Tulane is one that's written about what is Edward? He's like a stuffed animal of some kind. But you can read these books in retirement that you never read as a child,
Yeah.
and so like I'll admit, C.S. Lewis, I've never read the Chronicles of Narnia. Obviously I know the great fables and all that stuff, but I thought, you know what, I could get the Chronicles of Narnia. I could probably get it on my Kindle, check it out as Libby books. I should read those and be caught up on that. You can do that because you're retired and nobody tells you can't.
It's crazy. It's crazy how much you can get on Libby. There's another one, Hoopla or something like that. I pay for the Kindle Unlimited, and it's just there's so many books. Like, what do I even start with? And this is freaking on. And I'm not retired, but I read my nonfiction in the morning. I'll read my Bible, and then I read my nonfiction. Then when I'm going to bed, that's when I read my fiction. It's great. There's Carol. You got to see this movie. You might have already, given about like the Hitty character that talks about her travails. You ever see the movie The Red Violin?
I've heard of the movie The Red Violin, and it's about a violin that's played by different musicians.
Oh, it's one of the best movies you'll ever see. The Red Violin. Samuel Jackson's in there and some other people I can't remember. It is literally one of the best movies you'll ever see. It's fantastic because it kind of goes along how the violin is played by these different guys and all the it's just that's one of my favorite movies of all time. The Red Violin.
I'll check that out and see if they have it like on Amazon Prime. The best movie you'll ever see is you can go on Tuesdays, senior afternoon, and you can go see a movie for pretty dang cheap because you don't work. You can go see the movie in the middle of the afternoon before the crowds. And so I do highly recommend the movie Cabrini that came out in the spring.
I heard, yes, right. But
Cabrini is a fabulous movie, and it's about a Catholic nun, but it does not push anything Catholic about it. It's just this woman who lets nothing get in her way to help her orphans or to build her hospital or do whatever she thinks God's calling her to do. And it's really good and really points out the deplorable conditions in the slums of New York City in the 1800s too.
No, man. I was looking forward to seeing that when it comes out on whatever Netflix.
I think you can stream it now, but it's cinema. The cinematography is fabulous. And because this is outside the mainstream of Hollywood, although it should win Oscars for Best Actress, for cinematography, for everything, it won't, which is sad.
Actors and actresses will probably get blackballed from ever appearing. Yeah, Penelope agrees. Penelope says, "Cabrini was like,
the actress who played Mother Cabrini was She is Italian, and that was a requirement. They needed somebody who spoke Italian as a
Yeah.
native and also could speak English. And
Yeah, I
so
mean, Tom
it's really good.
taught at Cabrini University. Yeah, right on. So
There's a university, there's tons of hospitals, orphanages. They kind of say at the end of the movie, they show how her work spread throughout the United States. She originally wanted to go to China, but the Pope sent her to New York City. And then from there, she went to Chicago. And then she also went to Colorado. And I believe there's shrines in Colorado, Chicago, and New York for Mother Cabrini.
that same group that did Cabrini did another movie. I paid for. I watched. It was about. Oh man, this guy's kind of famous actor too. Like he goes back in time, not back in time.
Yeah,
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
that was called though, but that's good. It wasn't great. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining.
It's sort of a sci-fi, but what he did was he got bounced into another dimension. So like this would be his life without having met his wife, but he kind of knew that he had this wife, and he was always trying to get back to the life that he had with his wife that he dearly loved. But yeah, it's Angel Studios.
Yeah,
and
Angel
so
Studios.
I'll go to any movie that Angel Studio puts out. The latest one is called Sight, and it's the true story of an ophthalmologist, a surgeon, growing up in China, who came to the United States and became this world-renowned eye surgeon who can bring sight back to people that are blind and they never thought they would ever have vision again. And it's there's always good messages in those things. And that one, the first little girl, and he did not bring her sight back, but her stepmother had poured acid into her eyes in India because beggars on the street got more money if they were blind. And so she's rescued by some nuns and brought to the United States, and he couldn't help her, but he developed a technique that then helped other people who never thought they'd see anything be able to see. And you just keep feeling good. You don't feel like, oh, that was disgusting.
Yeah, there's no pornography and just no senseless violence and all that. It's just when I want to see a movie, I just want to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? I don't need like anything that's like. I just talked to my daughter about this the other day. One of the scariest movies I ever saw was Blair Witch Project. A lot of people say that wasn't scary. I said it wasn't scary if you're wanting just stupid blood and guts, but it's just the anticipation of like what's waiting out there is what makes it just a thriller to me.
I never saw that one, but anyway, Angel Studios puts out some good stuff. They have one coming out in the fall that looks really good, and now I'm blanking out because we're on a live. I can't remember what it is, but I've seen a couple ads for it. Oh, I know, the Bonhoeffer Project or something like about a physician in Germany, or no, a priest in Germany or somebody, priest by day, planning the assassination of Hitler by night or something. I don't know exactly. I've probably bastardized what it's really about, but it looks really good.
But it's Angel Studios, it's gonna be entertaining and good. You want to hear a crazy story about a Catholic orphanage? You ready for this? So my wife's, she's one of 9, Irish Catholic family through and through. And when her grandma had babies, her granddad took off, literally a typical drunken Irishman. You know what I'm saying? So my wife's grandma couldn't raise the 2 boys that she had, so she put them in a Catholic orphanage in the Bronx. And it's crazy because what happened is my wife's dad was the older brother, and his younger brother kept wetting the bed. And so what the nuns did is they literally beat him so hard, my wife's dad, that he broke his ribs. Isn't that crazy?
That is terrible.
It's horrible. But the point isn't that such an evil person. I don't mean like that. The point is that when you're dealing with that kind of, look, it's no excuse. And I get everybody, but still, when you're dealing with that kind of just like violence inherently that's going on in these orphanages, to for some people to be able to keep their cool is literally divine. You know what I'm saying? Because any human being, when they see this, just like you're talking about the slums of New York City and all that, when they see this and they just see the lack of respect for human dignity, some people are just going to go nuts, and they're going to go so nuts they're going to break the ribs of a child because his little brother wets the bed. And it's horrible. And as Christians, we forgive. And the irony of it all was this guy, my wife's dad, actually went to the same high school as Antonin Scalia. In fact, we have a yearbook with Antonin Scalia.
That's neat.
In it, we got upstairs. You can see a picture of Scalia in as a sophomore because my wife's dad was a senior, and you can see Scalia in there. Tell me that's not crazy. And now we
That is,
know that Scalia, he's right when he talked about everyone wants to be equal in marriage. Scalia said it's just a matter of time for this goes the other direction, and Scalia was absolutely correct in that regard, among many, many other things.
that's one of the sharpest justices we've ever had. May he rest in peace.
By far. Right here. So this guy, my Bonhoeffer.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, what I'm saying. All right, so 8 years in retirement, you're still loving it. You're not like, oh man, I need to get back to the job or anything like that. Have you talked to other retirees who have gone bored or have said or have run out of money? I mean, I assume you're not any worried about your money or anything.
I'm not worried about money. The pension is pretty solid, and between that and the deferred income that I get reimbursement from each month, I've not run out by any stretch. I also have not yet tapped into Social Security. I'm waiting to take Social Security. So I kind of feel like unless that system collapses, that's, the next step is to tap into Social Security, but I don't really need it. So I wait, and then the amount will get a little bit higher each year. And I go to lunch with some of the people that have retired, and I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's the people that I retired with, but everybody has a little bit different story. Now, some of them, I would say this, some of them are not in great health. Yeah. And so, I do, there was a guy that announced his retirement the fall before I did. Everybody's very excited for him. And, his wife had died about 10 years before that unexpectedly. She had a heart attack, and he was looking forward to going on cruises. That's what he loved doing. And, he was a widower, and the ladies just hung all over him, I guess. And we were like, ooh, him, you little. Anyway, I shouldn't say that. May he rest in peace, because shortly after he announced his retirement, he's in the ER with terrible constipation, which turned out to be, I shouldn't laugh, turned out to be cancer.
Ugh.
And so they canceled his retirement plan because he obviously needed his insurance, and he died within 4 or 5 months.
Oh.
And then another guy, after I announced my retirement, this other guy, I think he got the gumption, and he loved traveling. And so he decided that he was going to retire. And I had retired, and he still had a month to go, and developed this cough and couldn't get rid of it. And they convinced him to go to the doctor, and he went to the doctor, and they came back and said, you have leukemia.
Oh.
And so, he was in the hospital, and then they sent him home. He was going to have outpatient treatment, and he had been home 24 hours, and he had a stroke and died.
Was he married, this guy?
No, he was never married. I had a lot of nieces and nephews and stuff, but tomorrow is not promised to anybody. And so if you're sitting there and you're like, I think I have enough, you probably have enough, because it is true. You do not spend as much in retirement as you did working. You're going to eat at home more. You don't need the wardrobe that you had before. You just don't. And you might decide to spend tons of money traveling. Go for it. I'm not a big traveler. I'd rather spend tons of money and plow it into the ground in the garden. But so that's the thing. Some of the people that I've retired with are in great health, and they do volunteer activities. They help take care of their grandkids and do things like that. Others, they're like, their health isn't so great. And one person, and I won't say who it was in case somebody I work with, but he fell off a horse and bumped his head and ended up with a brain bleed and complications and all that. And he ended up with a stroke, and he's up and functional and talking and everything, but the left side, he doesn't have hearing in that ear. And they've not given him a driver's license back because of the cognitive dissonance, I guess, going on with the left and right side. And so, very active retiree, but it's just like, you just never know what'll happen. So stop being afraid is what I tell people. Stop being afraid. Just do it. You've worked hard to do it. So just go for it.
I got a guy, actually a friend of mine that I used to know in high school that we just linked up on Facebook, and he lives in the northern neck of Virginia, which is kind of like towards the Chesapeake Bay and all that. And
right.
Rural area. He's like a volunteer fireman, and he's like, he says like 3 or 4 times a year or something like that. he has to call medevac in because people fall off roofs. You know what I'm saying? These guys will get up on a roof and they just fall off. It like happens all the time. And it's like, all these guys thought they're going to retire, or maybe they did retire, but they're thinking I'm going to go. I just, like you said, Carol, you just, falling off a horse. I mean, some many different things. And, that's not to say, oh, you could die tomorrow, so you better retire. But the same point is, like, if you did die tomorrow, would you want to?
But I do have rules. So Jill lives next door. And so if I'm going to get up on a ladder, I tell her I'm getting up on a ladder.
Yeah.
Or if I'm going to use like a drill or saws, I'm like, I got drills and saws out. Yesterday I trimmed some shrubs and stuff. So I said, I'm going out with the hedge trimmer, and they're battery powered, and Josh, you'll love this. Some of the shrubs at my house, and also I did Jill's for, they've gotten pretty tall, and it was, get up on a ladder with that hedge trimmer. That I bought one with a long extension pole, like you see those people doing. And I'm telling you what, I'm going to town. I'm reaching up the shrubs that are like 8 feet tall, and I'm getting the top of them all nice and neat. And I'm like, I should have bought this tool a long time ago. But
so you're saying those things? Well, I thought you were going to say those things don't work. They actually do work.
Oh no, it's fabulous.
Whoa! Because I got a nice little ginkgo, tree. A ginkgo, you know what I'm saying? Ginkgo trees.
Yeah.
And it's being covered by another tree. And I'm like, man, it's got these 2 branches, and I took a ladder. I was like, it's too high. You know what I'm saying? It's like too high for me to get.
This is a hedge trimmer. So depending on how thick those branches are, the hedge trimmer.
And it's probably 2 to 3 inches. So that's probably not going to do it then.
Yeah. You froze up a little bit. My internet connection's been kind of wonky. Am I okay?
Yeah, no, you're fine. So mine's about probably 2 to 3 inches. That the hedge trimmer won't do that.
You can buy a battery powered chainsaw on an extension pole.
Oh.
And then that works. I don't have one, but a friend of mine, she has one but again, if you're going to use power tools and things like that, you should let somebody know.
You ever seen a ginkgo in the fall? A ginkgo tree?
Yes. We have ginkgos. Yeah.
Oh, the bright yellow. Like our neighbor has a ginkgo. It's in full sun, and mine's being covered. And theirs is just this glorious bright.
Yeah.
It's freaking. Oh,
the beautiful fall color. And then they're also known for like snap. They drop all their leaves at one time.
And they're very medicinal too, by the way. Ginkgo plants are very medicinal. But just so get a pole saw. That's what Gordon says. Get a pole.
That's what it is. This is a pole hedge trimmer.
Well, Gordon, why don't you just come here and do mine like Carol does for Jill? Every time I hear Jill's like, Carol just brought me this, and now you're telling me you trim her hedges too. Like, do you plow her snow when she gets snow? Do you plow her driveway?
If I think about it, yeah, I like to get out and do stuff. You gotta keep going,
especially outside. I mean, it's just that's the thing about gardening is just getting. I mean, this is how oh man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing I tell people, I mean, I joined a garden club that first year, but I tell people, they're like, I've got all these people coming and saying, oh, now that you're retired, can you, like this one woman, she was at the lunch this last month and she says her daughters thought, could she watch the kids 2-3 days a week? Well, she lives 60 miles away. So she said, that's. And so I tell people, make the first year of retirement the year of no.
Right.
And so you can, and if you just say, no, I don't think I can, people want an explanation. But if you say, this is my first year of retirement, it's the year of no, I'm exploring my options, they'll go away. They might come back the next year and say, hey, it's been a year now, will you? Or they might just have figured out how to fix their problem or whatever with somebody else.
The first year, that's fantastic. Especially that sounds like a part-time gig. 16 miles each way to watch your kids 3 days a week. Now that might be fine for some people, but I'm like, it's not really sign up for that necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
So make that the year of no. Now some people's like, I'm retiring because I want to take care of my grandkids.
Right, exactly.
My sister's very involved with her grandkids. They live just around the corner. She helps with some of the school runs and stuff, and she's happy to do it, loves doing it. But decide for yourself what you want to do, and don't get all angst if you don't have it figured out, even in the first 8 years. Life's going to change. Something will come along and you'll find a new hobby or something. Who
So
knows?
what time do you normally roll out of the sack, Carol? Like 6 in the morning or 8 or something like that? Or
No, no. I usually, you know what? I usually wake up between 6 and 7, and I usually out of bed by like 7:30, especially in the summertime when it's light out. Now in the
yeah.
wintertime, I may spend more time just moseying around reading and stuff in the morning and not as quick to get going on stuff. But I don't
Do
want
you
to.
find you're given that you're not a big traveler, and neither am I, by the way, but you're probably not been driving that much, I imagine, other than just going to the grocery or something. You're probably don't put any miles in your car, I imagine, right?
Putting some miles on the car. I gotta go to garden club and stuff. But
Yeah,
so
that's
just
true.
driving around town and stuff. And so um, I think that's helped control the insurance cost. I mean, the insurance costs in the last few years for housing and auto are just through the roof. But make sure the agent knows I'm not taking this car to work every single day.
Yeah. It's funny when I started working from home. All of a sudden, my wife's like, "Oh, you work from home, so you can." She has this list. I'm like, "Well, wait a sec. I'm still working there, sister." You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when you're talking about when you're retired. You're retired. You can do all this stuff now. I gotta go work. It's like, wait, man, what's this about? I'm still working.
Yeah, I just call it the year of no. And it would be if you had a spouse, it's probably a different story. If they have expectations of like the honeydew list is finally going to get done because you're retired. But I still remember when I was, this is going back 30 years, my mom's neighbor retired and he'd been retired for a year or two. And I said, well, how's it going? You getting everything done? And he says, yeah, well, there's a saying. He says, there's always tomorrow. And so you don't get up and get as much stuff done unless you really have a
Right,
deadline. Taxes have to be done by a certain date, or
exactly.
or give yourself a deadline. It's like I got to organize all the books in this house by this date, or give yourself a deadline for stuff.
Well, it's funny. My wife, thankfully, is more handy than I am. So if she wants anything around the house fixed, that's her honeydew list. Now I can dig. I mean, I was in the infantry, so digging is my forte. So I can dig a lot of holes and plant a lot of plant a lot of. I just planted a bunch of trees trees, bushes this last weekend. But if she wants something fixed, like a doorknob or some of that, changing locks, that's on her. So I say, all right, you want this done? I'll go outside and do it. Anything inside is yours thing there, Charlotte. But
Yeah, there's
all right,
there's
here. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
there's
Carol.
a I, I'm going to see if I can look it up real fast. There's a really sad but very obscure Jack Nicholson movie about him retirement. Hold on a second.
Well, you look up that, my man Prairie Mark says he decided to retire when he fell off his machinery and fell 3 times in a month. It was only a 4 foot fall, but often I worked 30 feet up on the granaries.
Yeah.
Time to quit. Nope. Yeah, dude, that's oof. And then Jill says, no, Denise says, a girlfriend of mine experienced a very real hair storm, one that destroyed her gutters, but didn't touch her roof at all. Her insurance company cut her a check to replace her gutters, but claimed the roof was good. About Schmidt, that's what Jill said about
Yeah,
Schmidt.
about Schmidt. Very depressing movie. But Schmidt, Jack Nicholson, he retires from some insurance job or whatever.
Yeah.
Shows him sitting in his office. The clock gets to 5, and then behind him are all his office files all packed up nice and neat. Has a retirement reception, and then goes home, and he and his wife, and she'd been a homemaker the whole time. They buy a motorhome. They're going to travel. And then he walks by his old office and sees all his boxes in the dumpster. Nobody
Yeah.
cared. Nobody cared about the paperwork.
Yeah.
And then his wife suddenly dies, and then he's just at loose ends, and it's kind of a sad movie. I'm not sure exactly how it ends, but don't watch that. It's sad, or watch it to see. Um,
Well, there's a just
uh,
want to talk about that. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, the whole thing is newly retired from an insurance industry. Omaha native Warren Schmidt embarks on an RV journey to his estranged daughter Jeannie's wedding in Denver, only to discover more about himself and life than he ever expected.
I think I saw. Did I even see that? I think I can't remember if I seen that, but I think I saw that. Came across like if you like this, you like that. I said, not the
It's
biggest
kind
fan
of
of Mel.
depressing.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of melancholy movies. There's a great movie. I think it's Italian, not in Italian, but it's Italy. Bella. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie, Bella. Oh, it's fantastic. You'll love that movie, Bella. Carol. I keep wanting to call you Claire for some reason, Carol. Bella. It's fantastic. It's a good movie about let's just put it this way. I'm against abortion, and people can be whatever they want, but this is a movie that shows you why you should be against abortion. And it's not. I mean, like that one movie with what's that person's name? I forgot. No, she now thinks she's a boy, Ellen Page or something like that. That was actually a pretty good movie, but this is actually it's just fantastic. So it's you
I may have seen that years ago.
with Bella or the Ellen
Yeah.
Page. Yeah, oh, it's great. Let's see. Work for the state. They pretend to. Yeah, they pretend to care about paperwork. Exactly. Yeah, Jill says she liked about Smith because they motivates early retirement.
Yeah,
And
it
I just
does.
want to be clear. I don't think I'm going to speak on Carol's behalf. We're not advocating just get out there and say tell your boss to screw off. We're just making
No.
sure that, like, Carol, she had her debts paid off. She knew she had a primary source of income, in this case, a pension, but you might too, though, guys. You might say, I have a primary source of income from a retirement account. So that's why you save. But she had her debts paid off. And I just, and she wasn't elaborate in her home. And, and yet right there, and who's the guy who wrote that book again? I forgot his name.
This is written by Joe Dominiquez and Vicki Robin. And I actually saw them. I think Oprah was interviewing them. And it was a show about people that are frugal. Now, some of those people were just insane frugal, like unrolling toilet paper so that you have one ply instead of two ply, which is dumb. Or splitting the toothpaste tube open to scrape out the last of the toothpaste, which is dumb. But what she said made sense because she said, they went around and spoke and stuff. She said, I have a nice blue suit. I only need one. I can clean it. I had one nice strand of pearls. She says, I don't need different types of jewelry. Now, some women will say, I need all the jewelry. I need all the different jewelry. But she's like, I live simply.
Right. What I'm saying. Keep it simple, stupid. All right, Carol, we've been on here for an hour, and I certainly want to respect your time. But again, your website, let me just put Carol's website in here. And you have a link to your podcast. Yeah, you do. Okay, sweet.
The podcast is on there. My books are on there. My blog is on there. My latest passion.
Actually, I didn't even ask. Anyone got, I don't want to keep you here too long, but this is the typical group here. I'm not sure they have any questions for you, Carol. But Carol said she's open to any questions. If y'all have, so I do have a question. You got a couple more minutes? I don't
Sure. I'm not in a big hurry. I'm retired.
When the markets were going nuts, I have a sneaky suspicion because of your pension, you're not even drawing Social Security and whatnot, that you're able to sleep still well at night. You didn't lose your mind because the markets are going south in 2020.
No, I don't lose my mind. I don't. No, it's not a big concern. I mean, I always figure, what's the worst could happen? The pension's solid. I can always start drawing Social Security. And so, 100%. All that other stuff that's the cushion for later.
And Carol, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you saying that. I said, all right, guy. All right, what did we already talked about health insurance? She went on Cobra, Big Johnson, and then she went on a health share,
right. And now I'm on Medicare.
Now she's on Medicare. Yeah. So she's retired at 57, I think is what you said, right, Carol?
Yes.
57.
Yes.
So Cobra for 18 months, and then she won a health share program, and she's healthy. So she didn't, health share is going to be a little bit more complicated if you have a pre-existing condition. They probably won't cover that, frankly. But
and if you engage in what they consider to be
bad behavior,
well, they won't usually take smokers. If you every weekend you go skydiving, they won't probably take you. I'm not even sure they would take you if you rode on a motorcycle, but they, actuarially, they know some people that are high risk for them, and they just won't take them.
Yeah, and we were on Medishare for about a year, and it was great. It was fantastic. It's just the issue is I have 4 children, and one had its pretty significant pre-existing condition that I was just worried that with her heart. I said, if anything goes wrong, I wonder if Medishare is going to kick in. And we, they were upfront with us. They said, we can't tell you we're going to cover this. We can't tell you we won't. We just don't know. Yeah, right on. And Big Johnson. Yeah, exactly. Eligible for Cobra until you get Medicare. 100%.
Perfect. So, it'll be a little bit more expensive, but I say that you're ready to go, Big Johnson. You need to turn in your notice.
100%. And and then Carol, when that's what I was getting ready to say though, they're not going to cut social, and they're not going to cut your pension, and that you have no debt. So the worst case scenario is for Carol wakes up on 1 January 2026. She has, let's just say, $3,000 a month from social. You don't have to tell us. I'm just using that for example. $2,000 a month for a pension. And again, it doesn't matter. I'm just using this for example. That's $5,000 a month with no debt. Now, of that $5,000 a month, $550 is going to go to Medicare, maybe 500 or so, and she's going to have homeowners insurance. She's going to have auto insurance. I get all that. That's still going to leave her probably at least $2,000 to $3,000 a month of discretionary income. And she's got to pay a little bit of income tax, not much. That's just a fact. Because again, if Social Security is a primary source of income, you're not going to pay much in taxes. So this is what I tell people all the time, Carol. Like, worst case scenario, you're living off Social Security with no debt. I mean, you tell me and I tell them, look back when you're 22 years old, 25, 28, just starting out. I guarantee if someone had said you'll be 65 years old, 67 years old, living off $3,000 to $4,000 a year with no debt, I guarantee you would have said you could do that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because a lot of people we spend to our income level.
Right. And this house is equity that I could draw on the house as equity if I had to.
What I'm saying. And that's what people don't get, Carol. It's like they spend to their level of income. You know what I'm saying? They don't have an income to the level of expenditures. It's always what my income is, that's what my spending is going to be. If my income is lower, my spending is going to be lower inherently. Yeah, 100%. Kirk says last 5 years before retirement gets less aggressive. Oh, so did you get less aggressive before you retired with your portfolio, or just what'd you do in terms of your?
Not necessarily. I got a little bit less aggressive after I retired, but not before. I didn't. It's all the retirement plans. That's the long term. That's a long game, and so you can't worry about it today for tomorrow for the next day. I mean, everybody was like. Because I retired in summer of 2016, and people thought sure that if Trump got elected, the markets would tank and I would be in really big trouble. And aren't you afraid? And I'm like, no, I am not afraid. You cannot think about all those things that you cannot control. If you keep thinking about all those things that you can't control, it'll just drive you crazy.
Yeah, because now we're saying the same thing with Biden. It's exactly. See what I'm saying? It's like, are we really doing this? Like, we're going to let Nixon or Carter or Reagan or Clinton, determine? we've seen this now historically that the president necessarily doesn't have a whole lot of significance on the overall stock market. Now, we can make a case that I get all that, but it's just like at the end of the day, letting the politics determine your portfolio, that seems moderately silly to me, frankly, especially when, like you said, is our long-term perspective for sure. All right, Carol, again, I didn't think we'd have a whole lot of questions because this is the usual crowd we get in here.
That's okay.
Other guys and
no gardening questions?
Yeah. Anyone open up for gardening questions. If you're not gardening, I'm telling you, you're missing. That is he's touching these plants. I can't get over the fact that tiny little seed, just give you cherry tomatoes, enough, just for tiny little seed. And just 3 months later, you get so many cherry tomatoes. Just you can just pick and eat and pick and eat. It's like oh man, it's breathtaking. Got lawn questions, says Harry. All right, Harry's got some lawn questions. Fire them away, Harry.
Oh, he's in Oklahoma. I don't know what to do about Bermuda grass, but my co-podcaster Dee does, and she's on Instagram as Red Dirt Rambling. She'll answer your Bermuda
grass.
Hear that,
Larry? Red Dirt Rambling? Is that what it says?
Yeah, that's my co-podcaster on Instagram. But yeah, lawns.
Red Dirt Rambling. Okay, I post that. So listen to Carol's podcast, Harry, with her partner in crime. I'm gonna put the post on there too. Harry's from Texas. His wife's from. What kills nutsedge?
Nothing.
Nothing.
That's God's truth. So the problem with nutsedge is it just a little tiny piece of the root can get left in there and it'll just grow up from that.
What kills creeping Charlie? Same thing.
Creeping Charlie actually, is easier to kill. But here's the thing about like creeping Charlie and stuff. If you concentrate on having a nice thick lawn, it'll shade out stuff like creeping Charlie, or creeping Charlie might be a problem in the spring, but it'll sort of phase out in the summertime. So mow high.
I got this huge blackberry in the back, beyond my fence in my back. We got like an acre and a half back there. It's kind of like a wooded area. And there's like tons of blackberries that come. I won't say tons, but a lot of them. And Creeping Charlie freaking just gets in there. I'm like, Creeping Charlie, get out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Just pull it. People
Yeah,
get
100%. I got my gloves on. I pull it. Sedgehammer,
exactly.
says Joe Mama. Sedgehammer. My man needs, let's see, World Trade Center. Never forget. You meant to say World Trade Center 7, did you not? At WTC, never forget. World Trade Center building number 7. How did that fall? Just magically fell. Kind of weird. But he goes, I need to draw 1,600 a month income. Do I draw down my investments or stop his wife's 401k? I would stop your wife's 401k. Carol, I won't give you that to answer.
No, I'm not answering that.
Organic or chemical pest control is what I don't even know who this guy's name is.
I use organic pest control
like
because
neem oil. What do you use? Like neem oil, I guess. Yeah, neem oil, right? For aphids.
for aphids, a strong stream of water to knock them off, and then wait for the ladybugs to come to eat them. The thing about most insects is if you kind of leave things go or just try something simple like a stream of water to knock them off, eventually nature comes along and takes care of it. Ladybugs show up and eat the aphids, or birds come along and eat those grubs. So I don't, I guess I'm very much less concerned about insect pests in the yard than I ever was.
Yeah. I still use neem oil on the aphids because they tear up some of my literally they just they tear it up to the extent where I do buy some ladybugs on occasion, Carol, and just you
They
get
won't
1,000.
stay around.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. They're fun. They get all over you. So I love it, but then they're gone.
They're gone.
Ed and okay, let's see here. We talked about waiting to Social Security. Okay, yeah, right here. So Prairie Mark, waiting till 70 to collect with Social Security. That helped me relax a lot. I get 4,000 a month social and $700 a month for pension. You can live off that. 100%.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. So I got. So we talked about strawberries, and you said you have enough to share with the vagrants. We talked about aphids. You just spray them down with a stream of water. Let the aphids.
If I catch them, I don't go out and inspect stuff unless something looks really funky.
You got any fruit trees?
I have. Well, the service berries are technically a fruit tree. I just don't eat it. But I have 2 pawpaw trees, and I should get my first pawpaws this year.
You've just planted those a couple years ago or something like that?
I planted those about 8 years ago.
And they haven't produced at all at this stage?
No, they have produced, but they haven't produced enough fruit for me to share with the raccoons. And so I joke and say, do you know how to know if your pawpaws are ripe? And the answer is if the raccoons have eaten them, they were ripe.
So here's a question for you, Carol. I put 3 apple. Now I'll let you grab this. I put 3 apple trees back there. The best one got taken down by a windstorm. It killed me because that guy was. But 2, they're not. It's been, I'd say, 6 years. They're not producing anything. Are they? And I mean, these were. You did not need to pollinate them with another species, supposedly. But anyway, there's nothing out on either of these guys. I'm like, I'm at this stage. I'm kind of thinking, they're what's it called, impotent or something. I don't know what the word is. They can't.
Well, are you sure they don't? Are they the same species?
When I bought them, it said no pollinator needed.
Okay.
So I don't. I mean, so I assume that they didn't need it, and I was like, okay, but it's been 6 years now.
Do you see bees on them in the spring? No. Are you treating your lawn with chemicals?
No.
Okay.
I actually took the Dirt Doctor's organic lawn and farm thing. It was actually a pretty intense class, I might add. You ever heard of the Dirt Doctor?
No, I have. I don't ascribe to that. But anyway, some of that stuff's fake. But
I 100% agree. It's like sounds awful good in theory, but in paper, but in reality,
I would watch those next year. And so in Georgia, so what happens in Indiana is if the apple trees get hit by a frost when the bloom is on there, then you won't get a good crop. But if you're seeing the bloom, but you're not seeing a bunch of bees and stuff on them, then that's probably why they're not producing any fruit. You need pollinators. So is there anything else you can plant back there that would bring in pollinators?
Well, we got lots of butterfly bushes. You know what I'm saying? I got
Yeah,
tons
but
of.
they need to be flowering about the same time as the apples are.
Ooh, interesting.
And then you
Yeah,
you would,
yeah, there you go. This guy
because
says
actually there are people that, yeah, with the right flowers and that bloom in the spring, there are people that these bee guys, and they literally truck in semi loads of bees to some of these orchards and stuff, especially like in California and stuff, at the flowering time to release all their bees and that pollinate all the, like the almond crop, I think it is, and
oh, yeah,
things like that. Then they, the bees go back to those hive boxes, they pack them up,
yeah.
and then on to the next one.
Well, if they never flower to begin with, what are you going to pollinate? I've never even seen flowers on any. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? So how do
I watch. When are you trimming these things?
they in the fall?
Don't trim them this fall.
Okay, fine.
And see if you get some flowering. You may be cutting off. I mean, normally with apple trees, you can trim off a little bit to shape the tree up in
Yeah,
late
exactly.
winter.
Yeah.
But if you're trimming the whole thing, you might be cutting off a bunch of flower buds. So don't trim them. See if they flower. See if bees come around. That's my advice.
Good stuff, Carol. I don't care what Jill says. You're all right by me. And
All
Jill
right.
with her crazy conspiracy theories. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to get Jill back on like us normies. You know what I'm saying? But
Oh, I
yeah,
love me a good conspiracy theory.
right on a reset, man. Stouffer's stovetop chicks and a Stouffer's stovetop stuffing instead of potatoes. Everybody knows it's Stouffer's. Now, like, there's no such thing as Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. Yes, it was. I remember that like it was yesterday. It was like, oh, you're misremembering. Like, why would I
I
misremember a Stouffer's stovetop stuffing? That doesn't make
Yes, yes. There's a name for that. What's that?
Mandela effect, yeah.
Mandela
Denise,
effect.
who's been on here, Denise crushes, but she's like, "You're misremembering." I said, "No one misremembers Stouffer stovetop stuffing." And the Monopoly Man had a monocle. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows Monopoly Man had a monocle.
Yeah, that's true. It was lovely, Josh. I enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks,
Want me to
Joe.
come on some other time, answer gardening or retirement questions? Just hit me up.
100%, absolutely, and I'll hit you up free. God bless, Carol. I appreciate you being here.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jill, for making me contact or telling me about Carol again. I really appreciate it. God bless. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, I'm gonna go take my dogs out. They're ready to rock and roll. So appreciate Miss Carol being here, and we put her link to her stuff in there. So by all means, sign up and listen to her podcast. See you guys. Thanks again. All right, come on, Pops. All right, I hear you, baby. I hear you.